Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that I think is pretty interesting.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about mutual funds,
All right.
and specifically, one of the myths that comes from the series, Mutual Fund Myths, debunked by Certo advisors.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this a little bit later, but Certo advisors, they're an investment advisory service.
Right.
So they really know their stuff about mutual funds.
They do.
And this is myth number 6.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that, you might be surprised to hear this one.
Yeah, a lot of people get tripped up on this particular myth, especially newer investors.
So should we just jump right into it?
Lay it on me.
All right, so myth number 6 is that you absolutely need a Demat account to invest in mutual funds. So what do you think about that one?
You know, it's funny because I hear this a lot, and I think it's because Demat accounts have become so popular.
Right.
And, they do offer some really good conveniences.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your typical mutual funds, they're not actually a necessity.
Wait, hold on. Rewind for a second.
Okay.
Because, I think for people who maybe haven't heard that term before, Demat account.
Right.
What are we even talking
Yeah,
about?
that's a good question.
Break that down for us.
So Demat is actually short for dematerialized, which just means electronic.
Okay.
So basically you're buying a piece of a company,
Hmm.
but instead of getting like a physical stock certificate,
Right.
you just get a digital record of it in your Demat account.
Okay,
So it's
right.
like imagine a virtual vault for all of your investments.
So basically it's like instead of having a piece of paper, you have like a digital
Exactly.
proof that you own that.
Right. It's all stored electronically.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's a Demat account. So what's the other option then?
The other option is to go the traditional route, which is physical statement mode.
Okay.
And that's basically just getting a paper statement in the mail,
Right.
showing you all of your mutual fund holdings, kind of like you used to get those old school bank statements.
Oh, so it's like choosing between having like a digital treasure map to your investments or like a physical one.
Exactly.
But either way, you still own the same treasure, right?
Precisely. It's just a matter of how that ownership is documented.
Okay.
And the good news is you get to decide which way works best for you.
Well, now you did mention that this doesn't apply to exchange-traded funds or ETFs.
Ah, yes.
Can you maybe give us a quick little detour?
Of course.
Explain what those are.
Yeah, so an ETF or exchange-traded fund is essentially a basket of stocks
Okay.
that reflects a specific market sector or an index.
Gotcha.
So, for example, you might have an ETF that tracks the technology sector or the healthcare sector.
Oh, so they're like
Yeah.
mini stock markets within the stock market.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
That's really interesting.
And the thing about ETFs is that unlike regular mutual funds, they're traded on stock exchanges just like individual stocks.
So you do need a Demat account for those.
Exactly, and that's because that's how those transactions are processed and settled within the stock market.
So it's like a completely different system.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so coming back to this whole choice between Demat and physical statements for mutual funds,
Right.
I feel like that is a game changer for a lot of investors.
Yeah, I see that a lot, and I think knowing that you have options can be really empowering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of, getting hung up on all the jargon and feeling intimidated by it, you can actually focus on what matters most,
Right.
which is choosing the method that aligns with your own personal comfort level and investment style.
So when it comes to actually making that choice,
Yeah.
what are some things people should be thinking about?
There are pros and cons to both.
Okay,
So with Demat accounts, you're definitely going to get that convenience of online access.
right.
You can track your investments in real time, and usually the transactions are a bit quicker,
Okay.
but you might run into some fees associated with maintaining that account.
So if you are somebody who is really tech savvy
Yeah.
and you love the convenience of being able to manage everything digitally,
Uh-huh.
then that might be a really good option.
Exactly. That would be the way to go.
And then on the flip side, for physical statements,
Yeah.
what are some things to think about there?
Well, with physical statements, you're going to have those tangible records,
Okay.
which can be reassuring to some people,
Yeah, I can see that.
and there might be fewer fees involved.
Uh-huh.
But it's not quite as convenient when you want to manage your investments,
Yeah.
and the transactions might take a little bit longer.
So it's almost like choosing between like instant gratification
Right.
and like the charm of a handwritten letter,
You got it.
you know?
And ultimately, it boils down to weighing those different factors and seeing what best fits your individual needs and preferences.
Right.
And just a reminder, we're not financial advisors here.
Of course.
So you always want to do your own research and seek professional guidance if you need it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Always a good reminder.
Always.
So let's wrap this up.
Okay.
So, myth busted.
Busted.
You don't always need a Demat account to invest in mutual funds.
Right.
You have the power to choose, except when it comes to ETFs, which have their own little separate rules.
Correct.
So now that you know this, I'm curious.
Yeah.
What factors might influence your decision about how to hold your mutual fund units? Something to think about.
For sure.
And hey, if you've been maybe a little bit hesitant to explore mutual funds, just because of this whole Demat account thing, now you know you've got options.
You do.
And that's really the important takeaway here, because knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
When it comes to making smart investment choices.
Couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you the